Are we witnessing the formation of a new world order? The ongoing conflict has taken a dramatic turn, as Russia and Iran seem to have formed an alliance, with Iran providing advanced weapons to the Russians and Russia aiding Iran in the further development of its nuclear weapon program. And now the Israeli government decided to expand their involvements in the war, with contributing with military tools and attacks on the Iranians. The situation in Ukraine has reached a critical phase, with the Russian army reportedly preparing for a long-awaited spring offensive, while President Zelensky has requested advanced weaponry, including F-16 fighters and modern tanks. According to a Russian military official, a missile strike on Damascus, the capital of Syria, was carried out by 4 F-16 fighter jets of the Israeli Air Force. The strike caused severe damage to the city and resulted in human casualties. Oleg Gurinov, the deputy chief of the Russian Center for Reconciliation of the Russian Defense Ministry, revealed that the strike was delivered from Golan Heights. Two Western intelligence sources also said that the target of one of the attacks was a logistics center run by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. And reports also indicate that the strike may have been targeted a meeting of Iranian weapon development experts who were providing drone and ammunition support to Russia from a settlement in Damascus. Syria's close allies, Russia and Iran, have both condemned the strikes, warning that they threaten regional stability. Syrian Foreign Minister Faisal Mekdad called the strike a crime against humanity, given that it took place less than 2 weeks after an earthquake that killed over 5,800 people across the country. Furthermore, Russia's withdrawal of its military presence in Syria has led to Israel's heightened concern about their military ties with Iran. Israel has intensified their attacks on Syrian airports and Iranian military facilities in an effort to prevent Iran from using increasing air supply lines to transport weapons. The war in Ukraine has taken a turn, and it's not just Ukraine and Israel that are threatened by the fanatical aggressor. It seems like Russia and Iran have formed an alliance, with Iran providing advanced weapons to the Russians, and in return, Russia aiding Iran in the further development of its nuclear weapons program. The situation in Ukraine has now reached a critical phase, and the recent reports suggest that the Russian army is preparing for a long-awaited spring offensive to break the morale of President Zelensky's forces. Zelensky has requested advanced weaponry, including F-16 fighters and modern tanks, but it's uncertain whether the free world will respond to his plea. While F-16s may not be supplied, European countries and the United States have committed to providing modern tanks to Ukraine, but it will take time for them to become operable as training for the tank crews is necessary. Additionally, there is a shortage of ammunition such as artillery shells. As a result, the United States has sought assistance from Israel, and after consultations, 100,000 artillery shells have been provided from Israeli warehouses. However, the link between the war in Ukraine and Israel doesn't end there. As we've spoken about earlier, Israel launched an attack on the Iran that appears to be directly related to the situation in Ukraine. It seems that Iran has been using increasing air supply lines to carry weapons to Syria, and Israel has intensified its attacks on Syrian airports and Iranian military facilities to prevent Tehran from using these supply lines. Israel has destroyed most Iran's military infrastructure in Syria, and the recent attacks in Damascus targeted a meeting of Iranian weapon development experts who provide drone and ammunition in a settlement. Reports suggest that this attack was carried out by 4 F-16 fighter jets belonging to the Israeli Air Force. They have been actively involved in not just providing crucial intelligence to Ukraine about the Iranian weapons being used by Russia, but also in attacking Iran's arms industry. Recently, the Israeli Foreign Intelligence Agency Mossad launched an attack on a weapons factory in the city of Isfahan using 3 quadcopters that destroyed the factory where remote-controlled combat aircraft and missiles were produced. The Tehran regime later announced that it had arrested a number of Mossad agents who had piloted the drones and claimed they were Iranian Kurds working for Israeli Secret Service. The New York Times later confirmed that Mossad was indeed behind the attack. The reason for the attack, however, is not straightforward. While some speculate that it was because of Israel's own security interests, others believe it was to stop Iran's supply of long-range UAVs to Russia, which Israel sees as a strategic threat. Furthermore, the Ukrainian government is still seeking more support from Israel, particularly in the form of the Iron Dome anti-missile defense shield and Israeli UAVs. Even tough Israel seems more supportive towards Ukraine. They are still hesitant to supply these weapons, as it fears they may end up in the hands of Iranian engineers through the Russian army. On February 16, Israel's Foreign Minister Eli Cohen traveled to Kyiv, becoming the first Israeli minister to visit Ukraine since the war broke out in February 2022. Cohen held talks with President Zelensky and Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba. During the meeting, Kuleba requested a $500 million loan and asked for Israel to treat more wounded soldiers than it currently does. Cohen also reopened the Israeli embassy in Kyiv, and Zelensky referred to Iran as the common enemy of Israel and Ukraine. Cohen responded that Iran's evil face had become visible in Ukraine, and Israel would give Ukraine a $200 million loan and supply missile strike warning systems. This visit signaled a change in Israel's attitude towards the conflict, as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu had long maintained a close relationship with Putin. But it seems that Israel can no longer remain idle in Europe's most serious conflict since World War II. Russia was clearly irritated by Cohen's visit to Kyiv, and Russian state television referred to Ukraine as a Nazi state. Last week, Israel also voted for a UN resolution that called for Russia to end its aggression against Ukraine and withdraw its forces from the country. Israel's UN ambassador Gilad Erdan tweeted that Israel will continue to support Ukraine and called for a comprehensive, just and lasting peace in Ukraine. Zelensky has reportedly invited Prime Minister Netanyahu to visit Kyiv, but it is uncertain if the Israeli leader will accept the invitation at this point of time. Netanyahu recently hinted that he could pick up the role of mediator between the sides, a role that former Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett also played for a while at the beginning of the war. However, Zelensky rejected Netanyahu's idea, stating that Israel should take the side of Ukraine in the war with Russia. Netanyahu is also under pressure from members of his own party to start delivering the weapons that Zelensky has repeatedly requested. A Knesset delegation, headed by prominent Likud Yuli Edelstein, visited Kyiv a week after Cohen's visit and declared that there must be tangible cooperations between Israel and Ukraine in air and missile defense. In conclusion, the war in Ukraine has taken a dangerous turn, with the reports indicating that Russia and Iran have formed an alliance to threaten not just Ukraine and Israel, but also the rest of the world. As the Russian army prepares for a long-awaited spring offensive, President Zelensky's forces are desperately seeking advanced weaponry to defend themselves. But the response from the free world remains uncertain. In this tense situation, Israel has played a significant role in providing crucial intelligence to Ukraine and launching attacks on Iranian military facilities in Syria. However, the link between Ukraine and Israel is complex and multi-layered, with both countries facing their own strategic threats. As Israel's Foreign Minister Eli Cohen becomes the first Israeli minister to visit Ukraine, since the war broke out, the situation is rapidly changing, and the future remains uncertain. As we wrap up our discussion on the evolving situation in Ukraine and the role Israel is playing in it, one thing is clear. The conflict is far from over, and the stakes are even higher. The alliance between Russia and Iran and the threat it poses to Ukraine and beyond demands attention and action from the international community. Israel's involvement in the conflict, from providing crucial intelligence to launching attacks on Iran's arms industry, shows its commitment to supporting Ukraine in this critical time. As Israel continues to navigate its role in the conflict and face pressure to provide more assistance, it remains to be seen what steps will be taken by the global community to address the ongoing crisis in Ukraine. Thank you for joining us in this video, and don't you forget to leave a subscribe to not miss out on any news regarding to the ongoing war between Ukraine and Russia.